I've been a pretty bad robot for the year of 2022. Normally, I just receive coal in my stocking, but this year I have received the worst present I have ever gotten. The Witcher Bloody Oranges on Netflix. And normally when you see an awful series like this, whether it be a Marvel show, a Star Wars show, Rings of Power, The Woman King, Rotten Tomatoes give it a great critic score, and usually a pretty low audience score, unless it's The Woman King. Somehow it got 99% out of 100. Yeah, those numbers don't seem to be manipulated at all. But for some reason, Blood Origins not only has a low audience score, but also a low critic score. And when I saw this, I was like, did I just stumble into an alternate universe where things actually made sense? Now there's two possibilities. One, companies like Disney and Amazon can pay off critics, but a company like Netflix can't afford it. Or two, this show is so incredibly awful that not even the Rotten Tomato critics were willing to give it a pass. Now before you say, actually there's a third option, maybe the critics are finally tired of Hollywood's bullshit. I'm gonna be perfectly honest here, I think that's way too much wishful thinking.
Fuck you.
Now before we go any further, I just want to give a little disclaimer. I'm not really a Witcher fan. I don't hate the series, but I don't really love it either. To me, it always seemed like Berserk for babies. And I know I'm gonna get a few angry comments for saying that.
Whoa, joke! That was a joke!
The only thing I really knew about The Witcher before the Netflix series came out was, well, I played the third game and that's about it. And I only played it once. The reason why I'm bringing this up is so I don't bullshit you guys and say something like, oh my god, that had nothing to do with the movies or the books. This is such an insult to the fans! Only for someone later to point out that I have absolutely no idea of what I'm talking about. Like, who do you think I am, the quartering?
Coffee, Brad, coffee.
So before I get to Blood Origins, what do I think of the normal Witcher Netflix show? It's okay. I mean, it's better than The Mandalorian. I'll give it that. Just like The Mandalorian, the plot is amazing for a Skyrim side quest. At least when it came to Geralt's story, but everyone else seemed a lot more interesting. Geralt doesn't really feel like the main character. He feels more like a side character. He kind of just does stuff and bumps into the plot. And the quarter-elf witch girl, who was originally a hunchback but later became a beautiful woman, stole the fucking show. Unlike characters like Rey, live-action Mulan, Captain Marvel, and so many others, Yennefer isn't a Mary Sue. Sure, she's stupidly powerful, and she is one quarter elf, but she's born deformed, her life sucks, her dad sells her for less than the price of a pig, she has to go through a lot of difficult training, and then eventually, she gets the glow-up treatment. Yes, I finally know what that trope is called, so you can stop leaving comments about it underneath my She-Hulk video. She's hot, powerful, and gets to work for a king she really likes. Basically, she gets everything she ever wanted, and while her life is much better than it used to be, it's not really what she expected, and she has a lot of regrets. She wants to have a kid now, but because of her glow-up treatment, she unfortunately can't. And in Season 2, she loses her magic and struggles to survive without having something that she relied on for so long. And in Season 2, the princess character, who turns out has chaos magic and is really powerful, has to train in the Witcher ways and gets her ass kicked, like, a lot. As someone who has an entire playlist all about Mary Sues, Disney should really take some notes. Now, one thing about the show that I should warn you about before you see it is that the story is told unchronologically. The timeline does jump all over the place. If you like stories like this, you'll enjoy it. But if you don't, it will take a bit of getting used to. Now, this is completely subjective. You'll either like it or you won't, but it definitely confused me at a few moments. But there were some issues with this show. One, it's hard for me to tell who's on whose side, which kingdom is invading which, or just understand what the fuck is going on. There needed to be a lot more world building before they went straight into the action. I know it's a little unfair of a comparison, but that's what Game of Thrones did. But the kingdoms also all blend together. They all look very similar to one another. Every place is just forest, mountains, generic European kingdom, or generic European village. Sure, we get a desert here and there, and the magic school did look unique. And yes, I do understand that sets and props are expensive, but could we at least get a few more establishing shots? And the other problem I have is, well, something I'm nervous to say because twice books already, people have twisted it into me wanting segregation.
ブラック is no とか
This is not a huge problem with this show, and it's nothing I'm gonna lose sleep over. But minorities are just sprinkled throughout the Witcher show, and every place looks as diverse as New York City. Now, it's sad that I have to explain this, but I'm totally fine with non-white people in my TV shows. I just prefer it when it's explained that they come from different places in the world, like the Dothraki.
Minorities in my American TV shows, not on my watch.
Biden, blast!
This is not me wanting fucking segregation. This is me wanting the show to represent reality. I know this might be a shocker to you, but most white people come from Europe. Most black people come from Africa. And shockingly, most Asian people come from fucking Asia. Imagine if in Rings of Power, instead of just sprinkling minorities in there were a bunch of Asian people who were called the Easterlings, and they showed off Easterling culture. Also, by the way, I have no complaints about how sci-fi does diversity, because it's in the future. So yeah, according to some people, I'm fine with segregation in the past, but not in the future. What the fuck is wrong with these people? But my other issue with this is that we know the writers are going to use it as a shield. If they really wanted to just give minorities representation, then maybe they wouldn't just have them stand in the background and say nothing. Oh, and if you want to know my opinions on the anime, well, I didn't see it. Basically, I think The Witcher is a alright show, nothing great, nothing terrible. Now, I'm sure if you're a fan of the books or games, you can go on and on and on about how it's not an accurate adaptation of the source material. But I want to go over the issues with Blood Origins honestly. And honestly, I'm not a fan of The Witcher. But even I can tell you that this is shit. And also going off of, well, any book or comic book that was adapted into a movie or TV show, I know for sure that they changed a lot. Now, of course, what works in a book doesn't always work in a movie, but I know about 90% of the changes they made actually made the story worse. How do I know this if I never read the books? Honestly, guys, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say it was just a lucky guess. Now, before we finally get into Blood Origins, we have to talk about the drama surrounding the head actor, Henry Cavill, who's best known for playing the Man of Steel himself, Superman. Now, I did complain about Geralt's story being more like a Skyrim side quest than anything else, but man, did Henry Cavill put his all into this role. Not since Hugh Jackman as Wolverine has it been so hard to remove a character from the actor. Henry Cavill announced on Instagram that he's leaving the Witcher show. Wait, what? But don't worry, he's gonna be replaced with Liam Hemsworth. You know who that is, right? Who? The guy who had a cameo in Muppets Season 3? Yeah, I know he's been in other stuff, but wow, what a fucking downgrade from Superman. But why would Henry Cavill be leaving? Didn't he promise that he would stay on for 7 seasons? Under one caveat, I quote, "As long as we keep telling great stories which honor Sapiciwikis." The guy who made The Witcher. Oh, I looked it up, it's pronounced Sapowski.
You stupid!
Sapkowski.
And again, I haven't read the books and only played one of the games. But what fans of the series have told me, Season 2 is even more of a deviation than Season 1. And judging how bad Blood Origins was, I assume that Season 3 of The Witcher is also going to be pretty bad. There were allegations being made that the showrunners not only didn't like, but actively mocked the source material. Suspiciously, after Henry Cavill left the show, he was fired from playing Superman. I'm sure it's just a coincidence and the Hollywood elites are not rubbing shoulders together. Oh yeah, there was also this weird thing that was posted to Twitter that accused Henry Cavill of being sexist, hard to work with, and above all, a video game addict. Oh my god, it's not like most people who checked out the Netflix show The Witcher are also avid gamers. Yeah, a lot of people did bash this post, and now it has been taken down, along with the person who posted entire Twitter. So yeah, this is one of many reasons as to why this show is so hated. All the drama around the show really made the fans irritated before it even dropped. And then it came out. Now I've put this off long enough. Let's review this dumpster fire.
You know, Mr. Dreadlock, you've gone and boofed up a lot of stuff lately. Leaking company info, talking about stuff to too many people. Hell, how about drinking the shittiest coffee to boot? You keep this up and it's gonna be my ass that's being tossed up on a CEO's wall like a rusty Christmas ornament dangling off of a male stripper's sausage. But since the stuff that got leaked wasn't too important, I'm gonna give you one last chance. At least before I decide to cut off another head from the Hydra. Now, I'm putting you on an important project. It's related to our transdimensional research department. This USB here's got some very important information, so don't forget the VPN this time.
Don't worry, boss. I have a VPN that is strong enough to hold up the heavens itself. Atlas VPN.
You want a VPN and a strong one? Well, you can't go wrong with a name like Atlas. Atlas VPN will encrypt your online activity, making it harder for malicious actors to track you. Atlas VPN offers a plethora of services, such as stopping ads and malware by blocking malicious links, ads, and trackers, even notifying you when someone is trying to steal your data. What? You have an incognito tab open? Wow, that's completely useless. With Atlas VPN, you can unlock your favorite content from all over the world. Get out! Netflix blocking your favorite shows in your country? No worries, Atlas VPN got you covered. With Atlas VPN, you can hide or change your location on the fly. Being able to change your location online means a more organic variety of content is available to you. Search engines and finding deals become easier as well, since you don't have to settle for whatever subscription prices are detailed for your specific country. For just as little as $1.83 a month, you can get Atlas VPN, along with 3 extra months and a 30-day money-back guaranteed. You would have to be absolutely crazy not to try it. But you'll never want to stop using it once you discover that Atlas VPN offers cross-platform coverage. Cover all your devices with one service. To get all of this and more, use the link in the description or go to atlasvpn.com/justarobot. So episode 1 starts with a battle that is filmed upside down before it's flipped right side up. And we get everyone's favorite character from The Witcher, the Bard. We gotta get people who are fans of the Witcher series to get into this show. What should we do? I know, we should use their least favorite character in literally the first scene. He's about to take an axe to the face when all of a sudden, time stops. Oh my god, the Bard is Dio! No, the one who actually stopped time is this godlike being who can shapeshift. The shapeshifter saves the Bard so they can lore dump on him. Now, again, haven't read the books, but I'm pretty sure there wasn't a moment when the Bard was saved by some godlike being so they could lore dump on him, so he could later make a song and explain to everybody the lore of the world. They could have just done, you know, a prequel, but instead it seems like they're making the Bard super important. Like later in the Witcher show, there's going to be a plot point where he is going to have some knowledge which will end up saving the world somehow. Like, you can add changes to the source material. What works in a book doesn't always work in a movie, but this is a stupid change. We're introduced to the Lark, who is the leader of the group. I bet it's gonna be a white man. What? It's a black woman? I didn't see that coming. This is certainly pushing the boundaries by being like most fictional stories nowadays. Aside from her being black, there's nothing special about her being a woman. And I'll give them credit for one thing, unlike previous black elves, at least she does something. She's not just a background character. And while I have said in previous videos that I hate how diverse modern fantasy movies are without the writers explaining why it's so diverse, if there was a Lord of the Rings TV show, a real one, and an army of Asian humans showed up and they said they're the Easterlings, I would be totally fine with that. I'm fine with dragons and magic being in the story because they establish that that's a thing. If you want your fantasy setting to be as diverse as New York City, then you'll have to establish that travel over long distances is super common and easy in this world, that the story takes place in an area that's similar to our real-world equivalent of where Africa, China, and Europe intersect, or that babies just come out with random ethnicities. Now, that all being said, I know this is gonna sound weird, but I'm actually more okay with diversity between elves than humans. Because elves have eternal youth. Eventually, they're gonna get bored with their long life and travel. I even googled how long it would take to walk from Africa to Europe, and it's only roughly 562 days. Even if she didn't go in one direction, it would only take her 2 to 3 years to reach Europe, which is absolutely nothing to an elf. Now, does the show explain this? No, it doesn't. So the narc enters a bar and starts playing a violin-like instrument. And we come to the first big issue out of many in this show. So the issue I have with modern fantasy movies making every single location as diverse as New York City is that it actually creates less diversity, not more of it. Because every single village, town, or kingdom is just your generic European or generic Northern European location. I'm just so tired of seeing England, Scottish, and Irish backdrops in every single modern fantasy movie. You can have locations that take place in an African kingdom and show off African culture. Same with Asian kingdoms and Middle Eastern kingdoms. This is not me wanting segregation. Black people weren't in Africa because they were segregated. Because the equator goes right through their continent, they evolved to have more melanin. Take the Water Tribe from Avatar: The Last Airbender. They were a fantasy group that was based off Inuits. I can't think of another fantasy series that does that. But do you know how you could easily ruin them? Just have their village be in a generic European grassland, and have a bunch of them be black, white, and Asian. School is really boring for most people, along with researching history. But entertainment is, well, entertaining. So please teach me about different cultures around the world. Maybe show off West Indian culture, or an Aztec kingdom. Or best yet, have a fantasy group based off the Swahili city-states. They have castles made of coral! That's the coolest shit ever! But despite all of that, as bad as the diversity is in a modern movie European kingdom, at least the people living there are human. These are elves! Their culture would logically be even more different to the Europeans than any African nation is. Even if they did grow up in a similar location. I understand that they're one of the closest fantasy races to humans, but with how long their lifespans are, their religion would logically focus on ancestor worship. They would have a much more massive fear of death. Their structures, tools, and technology would logically be made to last. And they would be a pretty stagnant people. Imagine if George Washington was still alive. And that's just scratching the surface. Imagine if you were as old as your great-great-grandfather, yet you still had your youthful college body. And sometime in the 1960s, you bought a bunch of Disney stock. Or maybe you won the lottery. You have eternal youth after all, eventually you'll win it. Maybe you'll use some of that money to get your 18th college degree. After all, after 30 years, being a nuclear physicist is getting kind of boring. Maybe it's time to see what it would be like to be a doctor. Healthcare would not only be a mandatory human right, or I guess in this case, elven right, but it would logically be way more advanced. Losing your leg at the young age of 90 would make you a less productive member of society. But luckily, you've been put on the waiting list, and you only have to wait a short 5 years, and the doctors will either give you a mechanical one, or regrow it for you. However, I still have an issue with her being black. Now I want to make this clear. I did a review of Cyberpunk Edgerunners and Arcane and talked about how much I loved both of those shows. Unfortunately, basically no one saw that video. I guess it was because I was being positive for once. The leader of the Cyberpunk Edgerunners was a black guy. Echo was also the leader of a group of rebels, and he was also black. But this show is like, here's our leader, it's a black woman, look, diversity, see? Anyone who doesn't like this show is racist. I totally see what the showrunners are trying to do. Just please be a little bit more subtle about it. Anyways, I've gone off for long enough. Let's get back to reviewing this episode. Well, this adult male elf wants to have coitus with this young little girl elf. Bro, everybody has eternal youth already. There has to be a few elves out there who have young petite bodies. You don't have to go for a literal child. God, imagine if EDP was an elf and everybody knew what he did forever. The mother of the child stands up to the man. He just pushes her over. He's about to do to that child what Donovan did to Guts. But luckily, the narc is a woman, not a man, so she's allowed to save her. She uses knives that she hid in her instrument, and a group of men in the bar start attacking her. Because as we all know, standing up to pedos is one of the most brave acts anyone could ever do. After all, it's one of the most controversial things in the world. By the way, how much do you guys want to bet that this is just random stock footage from an average Hollywood party? Being that she's a main character who's also a woman, she obviously easily kicks all of their asses, and immediately goes back to playing as if nothing ever happened. Remember how I said elves would have a much higher fear of death? The average elf wouldn't try to pull something like this. Hell, the average human pedo wouldn't. They don't just try to do this to a little girl in public, they
They try to lure them to a private location. But then again, the people who made this do work in Hollywood, and this is probably just some stuff they based off their average friend.
Was this the first time he did it after 200 or 300 years? I don't know, and clearly the writers don't care because these elves act like fucking humans!
The little girl tells the narc that she wants to be just like her. I was nearly cosbyed by an older man in public, so I want to be like you, homeless and traveling the world. I'm sure that will greatly lower my chances of something like that ever happening to me again.
And then we cut to the elven kingdom. And the king is under threat by assassins, and by assassins I mean terrorists, and by terrorist I mean military group. God, this is so many people. How did they get into the inner walls? None of this makes any sense. Now, I guess you could explain this by saying, well, these elven assassins can live forever. So over the process of a few decades, more and more of them got into the inner city. And then they all met up to seize the king's palace. Yeah, but wouldn't it be easier for one of them to try to become the king's guard and, you know, assassinate him like assassins are supposed to do? The reason why I came up with this hypothetical reason for how stupid this scene is because I know there are people who are going to try to defend this show and come up with their own headcanon arguments of why it makes sense.
We're introduced to the next member of the Seven, who kicks asses with axes. He's the king's bodyguard, and you can tell he's a good bodyguard because he gives the princess a knife and leaves her along with the king to defend themselves while he goes to fight some other people away from them. Also, I think one of the quote-unquote assassins he kills is a woman with ponytails. He just straight up kills her with an axe. You know what? This show is actually starting to rub off on me. The princess, having to defend herself, killed an assassin, which was the first kill in her life, making her no longer a military virgin. But she still is a regular virgin, but not for much longer. Because in the next scene, she's alone with the bodyguard. She tells him that she's grateful for him protecting her. Even though he didn't, he just gave her a knife and ran off, but whatever. She really starts coming on to him, and he tells her that he's meant to protect her, and she tells him, so protect me then. And he's like, you know, if I try to make babies with you, it's not actually protecting you, right? So she retorts, I was nearly stabbed today. I would like to know how it feels. So they engage in child-friendly activities. Now, some of you may have seen or read Berserk, and for those of you who have, you're well aware of what happened to Griffith after he had child-friendly activities with a princess when he was just a commoner. So the bodyguard is well aware of what would happen to him if he was caught, and she's aware of it as well. And when you consider the fact that she was the one who came on to him, yeah, this scene makes her an awful bitch. So how long does this go on for until he's caught? Well, it's immediately after he deflowers her. It turns out that he's a part of a guild that has sworn an oath to protect the royal family. And apparently, putting your hot dog into the princess's taco breaks that oath. Do you think the oath actually specifically says that? Like when he took it, did he say, I vow to go through grueling training, remain unwedded, kill anyone who intends to harm the royal family, even if they are close friends to me or related to me by blood. If it shall come to it, I will put down my own life to protect the royal family, even if I have to make the ultimate sacrifice. I shan't shag anyone in the royal family, and on my life I shall only eat pasta with a spoon from now on. But luckily for the now ex-bodyguard, he's not executed, instead he's banished. They even take his axe and, oh no wait, sorry, they don't take the axe, the leader of the clan individually who's there by himself takes it. If I was in the ex-bodyguard's shoes, I would just tell that guy, bro, you're already exiling me. I'm basically no longer a part of your kingdom. You're by yourself, fuck off, I'm not giving up my axe. Oh yeah, and one more thing, tell the king for me that whenever he weds off his daughter, whatever guy she sleeps with from here on out, she'll be thinking of me. Also, by the way, I just realized something. The princess greatly outranks this guy. This obviously makes a massive power imbalance in their relationship. But at the least she's a woman and he's a man, so in the light of the Me Too movement, it makes it okay. We cut back to the princess who's smiling and reading a book. She absolutely does not give a fuck that she ruined a man's life. Oh my god, she's like the average woman in Hollywood. Now some of you may say, well, she didn't know he was banished. In just a few seconds, her brother tells her about it. I didn't catch this myself, I saw a few other reviewers talk about it, but when her brother tells her, it's clearly a dubbed line. The camera's pointing at his back, and you can tell that the microphone quality changes. So yeah, I think the writers added this in last minute because they realize how horrible this makes her character. There's a scene with an Asian woman who can't communicate with the spirits because this black guy is talking to a glowing blue ball. This gives her blue balls, so she goes off on a quest to figure out what's going on. We cut back to the Narf, who's talking to the little girl that she saved. Apparently, this little girl can see into the future, which makes the rest of the people in the village afraid of her. Okay, 1, she's a little girl. No one's afraid of her. And 2, seeing into the future is one of the last powers that people in ancient times would be afraid of. It's one of the most common good guy powers throughout multiple different cultures from around the world. This would be super useful, especially to people who had eternal youth. Hey little girl, can you use your future vision to tell me if I will die in battle or not? Hey, if I eat this, will I get diarrhea? If I buy Star Wars, will it be a good investment? Also, just like the guy with the axe, the narc used to be a bodyguard to a royal family. Was she also banished because she let one of the members of the royal family explore her cave of wonders? No, of course not. She's a woman, so that would make it problematic. Instead of being banished, she just left. Yep, one day she just wanted to be a bard and walked out the door. However, for doing this, she's still exiled at the end of the day. Now, it turns out that the men she fought were town guards, so she gets arrested. Man, even in elven societies, black people can't catch a break. She gets thrown into the same cell as the ex-bodyguard who has Axe body spray. She recognizes him as the person who took her cousin's eye. Even though they met on the battlefield, I don't think he had anything personally against her, but her cousin was Ohana, and Ohana means family, and family means you get revenge on people on their behalf. But then they stop fighting. He explains to her his backstory, something we as an audience have already seen. I can't believe there's padding for a show that only has 4 episodes. Also, they're gonna be executed soon. And then they start fighting again. She even tries to gouge out his eyes. Lady, your and his heads are gonna be chopped off. He'll only be blind for a few minutes. Although I will say, once he's finally executed, he certainly won't see it coming. We cut to the king who's speaking with his advisors, and he decides to end the 1,000-year war. His reasoning is that they won't survive, even though they've been doing this for 1,000 years, but whatever. For some reason, wanting to have a peace treaty really upsets his advisors. I don't know, maybe they think he'll pull a Joe Biden. The king has already sent out diplomats before asking his advisors about this. One of them yells out that this will destroy them, and another one says that the 2 enemy kingdoms will not sign, which is something all the advisors should assume, so I don't see why they're upset. But the king has a plan to make peace. He's gonna marry off Zelda to Link. The ex-bodyguard is released from prison because he's contacted by a messenger from his kingdom. Apparently, the king wants him to be at the peace signing. Wasn't he banished? I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say something like this has never happened in all of history. But the narc isn't released from prison by a messenger. She's far too cool for that. She lockpicks her way out. But then she comes across a member of her clan, who also wants her to return home to be at the peace treaty signing. Okay, first of all, I love that the woman from this clan is a black woman just like her, while the white guy was contacted by someone who looks nothing like him. Second, wow, pretty convenient timing that both of these messengers showed up within a few minutes of each other. Third, just like with the last guy, never in all of history has a kingdom asked a banished person to come to a peace signing. Now, before someone says, "But Jar, you wanted the elven culture and customs to be different from us humans." Maybe this is just something that's pretty common in elven society. This scene is only in the plot so these two can know what's happening in the rest of the world. I am tired of super convenient things happening for the plot to move forward in modern day movies and shows. I had to deal with this in every episode of She-Hulk. I don't want to deal with it in every episode of this show as well. The conversation basically goes, "Sister, you gotta show up to the signing of the peace treaty if you want to redeem yourself." And the narc is like, "No, I'm a bard now. I put away the blade. I can't go back to doing things like that anymore. And by those things, I mean standing there as people sign papers." So she refuses to go back home, and this makes her cry for some reason. The little girl comes in to comfort her. Out of nowhere, she has a vision of the future, telling her Owen that she's the key to everything, because of course she is. She's a modern day fantasy main character woman. Oh, by the way, how much do you want to bet that this little girl is never going to show up again? Yep, she's just a plot device to be a super convenient thing for the plot to move forward. She meets up with her sister to go home with her, and right at that very moment, she takes an arrow to the knee, arrows to the back. You see, there's assassins all over this place. 2 arrows were fired, not simultaneously, but one after the other. Now, I'm no assassin myself, but wouldn't it be smarter to shoot an arrow at each of them, and not just 2 arrows into one of them? I don't care how racist these assassins are. Even if they can't tell black women apart, they should still know to fire at the one who doesn't have an arrow sticking out of them. But why are these assassins here? Well, it's so they can kill the people who were banished, so they don't show up to the peace treaty. I don't see how 2 banished people not showing up would compromise things, but whatever. Our Mary Sue starts fighting off the assassins. The axe wielder helps her out in the fight, even though she tried to blind him earlier. He tells her to give him his necklace back and she runs off. Okay. They kill all the assassins, she grieves over her sister, and then they find out that all of the assassins are from different countries. You see, they wanted the war to continue. They didn't want to have peace. They wanted to keep fighting each other. So in order to do that, they made peace with each other, came together to kill 2 banished people, because apparently if they don't show up at the peace treaty, it will compromise it or something. My god, this plot is stupid. I can see why this is the one that is not based on the books. I will say I'm curious about how these assassins came together in the first place, but I guess we'll never know. Like, even our main character says it doesn't make sense that assassins from 3 different kingdoms came together to kill them. Sorry, writers, pointing out your own plot hole doesn't make it go away. Now here's the thing, as dumb as all of this is, it gets even worse. Our heroes leave to go to the peace treaty, but they don't make it in time. In fact, they're not even close. So a person was sent from one kingdom to find this guy, and a woman was sent from another kingdom to find her, and assassins from all the kingdoms showed up to stop them, all within, at the most, a few hours of each other. But these 2 didn't have nearly enough time to get to the peace treaty. But you see, something's about to go down at the peace treaty. Basically, every single clan member from all the clans are at this peace signing. I don't see why they have to. I think all the leaders of the clan showing up would be a little bit too much. I mean, that would be as stupid as the president, the Supreme Court, the Senate, all the governors, all the mayors, all the generals, and anyone else who's really important, all showing up to a peace signing to meet with Punta, who brought with him every single person who's important in Russia, as well as Winnie the Pooh with all the members of the 100-Acre Woods and anyone else who's important in China. A, because it sounds like a trap, and B, if anyone decides to attack, they're all gonna die. Shit like this obviously doesn't happen in real life, because people have common sense. And here's the thing, an attack does happen and kills everybody there. I'll go into detail when we reach that scene, but for now, I'm going to explain to you why the assassin showing up makes this scene even more stupid. You see, the plan is to kill all the clan members. Every single one, even 2 banished ones. The assassins already know about the attack that's going to happen at the peace treaty. So wouldn't they want her to make it there? Because the assassins did this, now these ex-bodyguard clan members know that something is up. None of this at all makes any sense. All of it is here just for the plot to happen. I don't even think I could make something this convoluted if I tried. I think I now might make a video in the future where I compare scenes from modern day shows that involve super convenient things happening for the plot to move forward. So far, this is a pretty good contender to go up against that scene from the last episode of She-Hulk where she finds intelligentsia. But let's keep watching this show to see if any scenes outdo it.
Hey guys, I'm just gonna pause the review real quick to say that I went on a vacation to VidCon. So this video is definitely not gonna come out on June 29th like I originally wanted it to. Also, I now have my microphone set up in a different position, so I might sound a little bit different. Anyways, let's get back to the review. The princess is fixing this device which can apparently make these 2 clouds appear in the sky. Oh god, so the elven government can control the weather somewhat? I'm certainly glad our government can't do that. Or can they? We see all 3 of the extremely diverse elven kingdoms at the Peace Summit. As the old saying goes, diversity is our strength. So much strength that we can't tell the 3 different groups apart. It would still be just as diverse, just have a black, white, and Asian elven kingdom. At the peace meeting, several humans, I mean several elves, start giving each other dirty looks, and a lot of them just walk out. Again, imagine if something like this happened in real life. Yo, Xi Jinping and Putin. I'm just gonna go to John real quick. Gotta tweet about how Melania's ass is super fat now. Yes, my Donald Trump impression is absolutely terrible, but that's not the point. The point is, this will look suspicious as fuck. Or I guess as the kids are saying nowadays, sus. The princess puts a knife up to someone's throat, and this dragon creature shows up and turns everybody into a red mist. But now that all the rulers are dead, the 3 kingdoms all belong to the elven princess girl. Now, I don't know that much about elven politics, but I'm pretty sure if all 3 kingdoms are underneath one monarchy, that there would be peace now and they would stop fighting each other. So the outcome of the villain's plan is the same as the outcome for the hero's plan? What was even the purpose of the villain's plan? A child could come up with a better plot than this.
So just to clarify, the war-hungry mage entire plan was to create peace amongst the nations, but do it in a different way than what the king wanted. And this will apparently give him the war he's always wanted? What? But now the princess is free. Yeah, all it takes for a woman to be free is apparently the strength of 3 massive nations. But she's not free. In fact, she has more responsibility than she ever has had before. So she murdered all of those people for nothing. And the absolute best part is, the narrator talks about this woman like she's the hero. Someone who got a good, hardworking man banished and murdered a whole bunch of people. Yeah, there's peace now, but there was going to be peace anyways. Something just tells me that this might be a self-insert for one of the writers. Now, you might think that this crazy murderous woman is free to rule and do as she pleases, as the narrator told us, right? Nope, she's just a figurehead, and instead this black man is going to be calling all the shots. Oh no, this woman murdered her entire family for nothing. The patriarchy is still holding her back. Anyways, our main characters make it to a town. Yeah, they're not even close to the peace treaty. And there's already a new flag put up, signifying the Empress's new rule. So yeah, when I said these guys wouldn't make it to the peace treaty in time, and those assassins, the people who were sent to get them, and everything else was completely pointless, I really meant it. They weren't even close. TV or the internet doesn't exist in this world. They had enough time to make these flags and hang them up all over the place before these people even showed up. So far, we've had assassins, clan members, and several politicians all die for nothing. Also, the peasants and the common folks know what the Empress did to her own family. Apparently, they're happy about her creating peace by stopping a peace treaty. What the fuck is going on? Bruh, our Empress created peace by stopping a peace treaty and doing it her way. She even murdered her own family lineage to do it. Wow, that sounds like a ruler I want to follow. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention this. This is yet another moment of a character explaining events we've already seen. Keep in mind, this show only has 4 episodes. If it wasn't for all the padding, it would only be 2 episodes, I swear. Anyways, we find out that police brutality, famine, people deserting the military, along with a whole bunch of other bad things, are all on the rise in this new empire. Keep in mind, this was described by the narrator as a new golden age, all brought to us by our stunning and brave queen. I never thought the term slay queen meant slay your entire family and fuck up your nation. We're told that elite troops are scouring the continent for the last 2 clan members. They're 2 normal people with no magic as far as we know. Also, they wouldn't be a thorn in your side in the first place if you didn't send assassins out to get them. Have I ever told you the definition of insanity? It is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. My god, could you imagine how horrible the world would be if Hollywood writers ran it? The banished clan member explains to the narc that the dragon creature was brought forth by the black mage guy, because he has the power to open up portals to other realms. Yeah, this government is so stupid that apparently sleeping with the princess gets you banished for your whole life. But mages are totally allowed to work with weapons of mass destruction whenever they want. By the way, they're both really upset that they didn't make it to the peace treaty even though they would have died as well. Wait, what am I saying? They exist in this show. Of course they would be upset missing out on their opportunity to get killed. The princess explains her stupid plan to get peace, which she did because she didn't want to get married or something. And now that she's the ruler of this massive empire, she wants to go through the portals where these really powerful monsters exist and conquer them. Did you see what one of those monsters did? I don't think you stand the best chance against them. Oh, hey, Dad. Oh, what is it, my son Mark, who decided to join me along with the rest of the Veltrum Empire? We came across this creature called a Saiyan and it turned into a giant monkey and killed 3 of us. You think it would be a good idea to conquer the rest of their planet? No, son, that would be a stupid and horrible idea. Also, I thought in the new woke era, we shouldn't try to, colonize other people. But I guess it's okay when a woman does it. Also, knowing this woman, her definition of bringing peace to these realms would probably involve her killing all of their rulers. But the princess wants to be more than just empress in name, or all of the blood she spilled herself, would have all been in vain. Yeah, she needs to be in charge because there's other realms with more rulers she needs to kill. But it's all being done for peace. The thing that was already going to happen whether she was involved in it or not. Anyways, our heroes go off to find the narc's old swords teacher, who is also a woman and is also banished. The black girl elf also tells the white man elf that she's mad at him for his ancestors poisoning the water supply of her sword master's home kingdom. Haha, I get it. The black girl is blaming the white guy for what his ancestors did. I would make a joke about this, but let's be honest here, you guys already made it. They run into a group of travelers whose only purpose is to tell them exposition about the monoliths being built. And then they make like a screen door on a submarine and leave. I'm joking, of course. A ginger elf also tells our heroine how stunning and brave and amazing she is. Oh, thank God, we almost went 5 minutes without someone doing that. I was starting to get nervous. Later on, our heroes are walking through this field. The narc repeats what she said earlier again about the water supply of this kingdom being poisoned. And she stops the incompetent white man from falling into a trap. And then he falls into a trap. Wow, that's pretty silly and comedic. But as soon as the narc is having her goofy little laugh, her ex-sensei comes up behind her and puts a blade to her throat. Yeah, apparently it's really easy to sneak up on elite warriors in a flat field. Also, I just realized that the sensei to the main character is an old Asian person. So when Karate Kid does it, it's pushing harmful stereotypes. But when this show does it, it's stunning and brave. We cut to the evil black mage, who's complaining that the people will never accept him as emperor because he's lowborn. Yet they accepted a woman who murdered her own family and several of their leaders. So he makes a request to the floating orbs to give him chaos magic, and he will pay any price for it. Our heroes try to recruit the old Asian woman by fighting her. She of course easily beats them even though she's a woman. Even our Mary Sue main character, because she has the power of Asia. Isn't it amazing that the more woke and progressive our culture gets, the more things just seem to stay the same? She tells the guy that he lets his toxic masculinity control him. And to the narc she says that she forgot how to fight as part of a clan. And then she joins them, and that's the end of the episode. So to quickly recap this roughly an hour-long episode, a guy got banished, met a girl who got banished, were requested to come to a peace meeting, got attacked by assassins, had no chance at ever making it to the peace talk on time, and would have died anyways if they went. Everybody at the peace meeting got killed so that the kingdom could have peace. An empress was put up as a figurehead as a black mage controls everything from the shadows. They requested yet another banished clan member to join their team, and that's it. My God, book 1 of Cirque du Freak had more plot than this. This could have easily been told in 20 minutes, and also the plot is completely stupid. Now let's move on to episode 2. Maybe it will be better, maybe it will be worse, but there's only one way to find out. Oh God, I'm coming Episode 2 starts with a Rule 63 Peter Dinklage. So you know how in The Witcher that the humans treat the elves very poorly even though they were here first? In a similar fashion to how us modern day Americans unfortunately treat the Native Americans. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, out of any group that deserves more representation, it's them. Well, the elves treat the dwarves in a similar fashion, even though the dwarves were here first. So yeah, they made these elves even more similar to humans than they already were. And now I just realized something. This is probably the plot that the writers would have made for The Witcher show if Henry Cavill didn't do everything in his power to keep them accurate to the books.
Butthead.
They just took their old script, changed The Witcher to a banished clan member, replaced the elves with humans, and the elves with dwarves. I cannot wait to see season 3 of The Witcher now that Henry Cavill is no longer involved. It's gonna be such a train wreck. The dwarf tries to get into a building, the owner of the building tells the dwarf to make like a tree and get out of here, but the security is about as good as a screen door on a battleship. The dwarf just has to go through a window with hinges that open inwards, and because she has a vagina, she easily takes out everyone in the building, even though she's too short to get on roller coasters. The fight is all off screen, by the way. I guess they just couldn't film a short person fighting a whole bunch of tall men without it looking absolutely ridiculous. Oh yeah, and the female dwarf also talks to her hammer.
Don't worry, love. We'll find him.
It's not magic or anything, it's just a normal hammer, so I guess she's also crazy. We cut to the black mage who's with another politician discussing battle strategies in a public bathhouse. Why is everybody in this show so stupid? I don't even think Sleepy Joe would do something like this. He's worried about the banished clan members, rallying the people up to fight against him. But he says if he can control the story, then he can control the world. I don't think that was supposed to be in the script. I think that was just one of the Hollywood writers accidentally letting something slip. Our heroes make it to the city of Omashu, the city that has never fallen, but it's being sacked by the Fire Nation. I thought there was peace, why are they fighting? Now apparently, them seeing this stronghold that has lasted 1,000 years and has never been taken over until now, because it was invaded by an army that is made up of the 3 big kingdoms. It makes them think to themselves, yeah, we can take this army on. We just need a big enough army ourselves. Time to hire mercenaries. We need to start collecting a lot of money. How do you think those talks with the mercenary leaders would go? Hey, here's a lot of money, which is probably less than a royal family has. Want to fight with us against an army that was strong enough to conquer a stronghold that was never taken over in 1,000 years? Yeah, I don't even think Griffith would accept to do that. Now, I've seen some reviewers complain that they did not try to help out the city that is being invaded, but no matter how good they are at fighting, they're 3 people. The narrator even makes it clear that they're just specks of dust against the Empire. So yeah, if they helped out, they would have just been killed. So for once in the entire story, the characters are actually doing something smart. But here's the issue that I do have. If they're aware they're specks of dust against the Empire, and the narrator is aware of this as well, then why the hell is the Black Mage so concerned with destroying them? You have 3 armies, they're 3 people. You literally outnumber them an army to a person. Calm your tits. So, how are our heroes going to start amassing this wealth for their army? Well, they're going to rob a bank. Not a big bank, mind you, a small bank. I mean, even if they do collect all the money from that bank, I don't see how it's going to pay for a mercenary group big enough to take on 3 armies at once. Yep, apparently the plot of episode 2 is a heist plot. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like this idea being done in a fantasy story. Heist in D&D games are always fun, but aside from that, a story like this is pretty unique for a fantasy setting. Let's see how the writers mess it up. They come across a city with a whole 6 buildings. Apparently a place like this has a bank. Yeah, the money of small 6 buildings worth of people definitely sounds like it would be enough to hire the Band of the Hawk to help them. So what is their brilliant plan to get into the bank? Well, there's no guards out front, so they walk in. Also, they're here for nothing because all the money was withdrawn from the bank. Yep, peace was made, a new empire rose, and then more wars started. So it should be a surprise to no one that a lot of people withdrew their money. Yes, our heroes heard about the famines that were happening, saw a battle going on with their own eyes, and thought to themselves, I bet no one has withdrawn money from the banks in these trying times. So let's rob a small one. We want to be able to carry the money after all. The dwarven bank owner, however, recognizes them. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit uncomfortable with how Jewish this guy seems. So far, we've had Asians teaching people how to fight and Jewish people running banks. I wonder what other stereotypes are going to show up in this woke, progressive, modern show. Oh, someone drew a penis on the wanted poster of the banished white clan member. At least we finally got a joke in this show. Now I'm curious about the bounty hunter who drew that. I'm curious if this is a one-off thing or he just draws penises on the wanted posters of bounties he wants to collect. Our heroes have been spotted and an army is coming to collect them. There's only one way in and one way out, except for the hatch underneath the dwarf's desk that he goes through. We get ourselves a little action scene. They use the vault doors to create a shield wall. There are knives being thrown, spears being chucked, blades clashing together, and just everything you want in an action scene. I just wish it was with characters that I actually cared about. There's also a few really weird scenes, like the narc screaming at this guard who's basically just doing his job that he's a murderer right before she murders him. The swordmaster takes a blade to the back, and the last 3 guards do something smart. They run away, barricade the building, and light it on fire. I mean, the wanted posters did say dead or alive after all. Even if they are burnt to a crisp, they have symbols of the clans they're from on them, and those should survive the fire. So the guards will have no issue proving that they killed the right people. The narc tries to open the door herself. Bitch, it's clear that they barricaded it, and you have an army waiting for you outside. What is your plan here? In fact, come to think of it, what is anyone's plan here? Did they not plan for something like this happening? Was their entire plan really go inside, grab the money, walk out? What a horrible heist plan! But do you remember that super convenient trapdoor? Yeah, they can use that to get out! It's almost like it exists purely for plot convenience. But actually, no, they can't use it, because it's locked and it's made out of adamantium. But luckily, the Asian Swordmaster's sword is also made out of the same material, so it can just cut right through it. By the way, this is not how metals work at all. If I have a steel sword, I can't just slice through a steel lock without damaging it. It doesn't matter if they're both made of steel, titanium, or unobtainium. A sword cannot cut through a latch that's made out of the same material. Newsflash, swords are thin and sharp. They're designed to cut through things. A sword made out of any material would break first when it's sliced against something much thicker that is made out of the same material. Anyways, we cut back to the princess. Some guy walks up to her and tries to stab her with a knife. She's the empress. Where are her bodyguards? Okay, now I see why that guy they banished is so important. None of the other guards can do their job. In a way, this is kind of an allegory for the showrunners. Just like how this kingdom banished their one incompetent bodyguard? The people who are running this show lost their most competent man, Henry Cavill. But the princess, despite having no training in her life, easily blocks the much bigger man's arm. In any modern day show or movie, the power of vagina is the strongest in the universe. Some dorky looking elf mage snaps the neck of the Empress's would-be assassin. I don't know who this guy is, I bet he's unimportant. Hey, do you know what would be really dumb? If he was a super important Witcher character. A little later on, the Empress just finds out that there's a famine going on, and she's getting a bodyguard assigned to her. About time. The dorky elf who looks like Scott Pilgrim from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World reveals that his name is Avaloc, who by the way looked like this in the games. As you can tell, he looks nothing like him. It's a complete repeat of the actor they chose to play Lex Luthor in Batman v Superman. What is it with twinks all of a sudden playing these well-respected characters that they look nothing like? Now, as I said at the start of this video, I'm not really a fan of The Witcher, but I decided to do some research, and apparently Avaloc is a fan-favorite character who's extremely powerful and mysterious. There are many videos on YouTube completely dedicated to just analyzing this character, and fans were absolutely not happy with his portrayal in the show. I'll go into more details about this later on. I'm just bringing it up now so people don't freak out in the comments section before finishing the video. Anyways, the Black Mage and his cohorts decide to let the princess choose her own bodyguard.
No. Not this one. She'll be my protector.
Don't know why they didn't choose one for her so that bodyguard could spy on her for them, but then again, you only need one hand to count all the smart things the characters do in this show. Anyways, we cut back to our heroes who managed to make it out alive. They're thinking about robbing the same bank. Again, the bank they know doesn't have that much money in it. But the Swordmaster's sword wound is really hurting her. So the narc is gonna look for some healing herbs, literally called knit bone. Maybe she'll also find some herbs called patch wound. We cut back to the princess who decides that Avaloc is going to be her bodyguard. I mean, it makes sense, he was the only one who did anything to protect her, but she picked him so that he can be a spy for her. Yo, mage, can you spy on your mage buddies who you have known for hundreds of years for me? My god, I am so smart. I can't picture this plan backfiring in any way. But the worst part is her plan actually works. She manipulates him by saying that because he's her bodyguard, if she is going to be executed for treason, then they're most likely going to kill him too. Why doesn't he just tell his mage buddies that she's trying to rebel? I'm autistic and I was homeschooled almost all of my life. I was never as naive as these two are. She just tells him her full plan and then decides that now he's a spy for her. And this moron just goes along with it. These people are not children. They're not even adults. They're immortal elves that are hundreds of years old. Shouldn't they be super wise by now? How could one of them, let alone both of them, be this foolish? He even tells her that her plan is insane, but he goes along with it and just gives her his cloak. Buddy, she may be the Empress, but you're the one with all the power in this situation. Avaloc, everybody, one of the smartest characters in all of the Witcher series, tricked and manipulated by something that wouldn't have worked on a 5-year-old. Yeah, I see why the fans were not happy with the portrayal of his character. And I just realized that this is another girl boss moment. They took one of the smartest characters in all of the Witcher lore and had him be duped by their OC who owns a vagina. So apparently the princess wearing a hood, which doesn't cover her face, is apparently such a good disguise that she can just walk out of the palace. Solid Snake's cardboard box would be a better disguise than this. And here's the thing, there's no reason for the mage outfit not to cover her face, because the writers could have asked the costume designers to have the mage outfits cover the entire body. The outfit could have involved the mask of some type of animal, or just look like a plague doctor mask. But at least the guards in front of her room don't fall for it. Unfortunately, they're not there to begin with. Someone just tried to stab the Empress. Why aren't there any guards posted in front of her room? Last time this happened in the last episode, guards got suspicious and burst into her room as she was partaking in a child-friendly activity. Considering her reputation of sleeping with her bodyguards, you would think they would be at least a little suspicious that she would also try to put the moves on this dork. The Empress, with her full face showing, manages to get outside so she can do, I don't know, something. You know, despite rarely being let out of the palace, she can certainly navigate this place pretty well. I can't even find my parents' house in the neighborhood I grew up in without a GPS. She conveniently bumps into the commander she was looking for, and is super lucky that he didn't look at her. But I guess it is super common for everybody in the world to not look at someone who just shoulder checked them. My god, without Henry Cavill around, it's clear to everyone that these writers don't know what they're doing at all. Now, how would I fix this scene? Well, I would have her wear a mask. Not only would it be some great merchandise for this show, but it would also be really cool if we got a slow moment of him looking her directly in the eyes, not being able to see who it is underneath the mask. There would be a slow moment for the audience to catch their breath. And then the commander, thinking he was speaking to the mage that was bodyguarding the princess, would accidentally let a little information slip, and then ask why he's not guarding the princess right now. The princess in her disguise would of course not say anything, and then the commander would smirk and say, "You've always been a weaselly, spineless little coward." I didn't even put this in my script, I just thought of it off the top of my head. As a dyslexic autistic person, I think I'm already better than the writers of this show. Oh yeah, and one more issue with this scene. You would think with how much of an evil tyrant this commander is, that he would immediately turn around to order that this person should be executed. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna add that to the scene I just came up with. He turns around to yell at them that they're going to be executed, and then he pauses before he finishes his sentence and says, "Oh, it's you, Avalok." This would be a much better way for the princess to learn about the political corruption that's going on than having it literally told to her. Anyways, the princess follows the commander, who goes into a building, and it's revealed that the commander is in fact a homosexual. Oh good, that answers a question that's been on my mind for a while now. I thought it was really weird that he was a white man who was somewhat competent and not a complete goofball. A straight white man having any competency in a modern day show just seemed alien to me. I was beginning to question some of my preconceived notions. But now I know he's gay. Okay, the status quo is still the same. Anyways, like everybody else in the show, despite being gay, the commander is still a complete idiot. You see, he's been having late night conversations with his service top. Conversations that are top secret, and he's been blabbing about it to everyone. So yes, this guy did fuck the commander, both figuratively and literally. So needless to say, the commander is pretty pissed at this guy. He didn't bring those knives with him to do something kinky. But the commander is not planning to kill the guy, because they're more than just friends with benefits. They're actually boyfriend and boyfriend who are truly in love. He's not upset with his own reputation for these government secrets being leaked. Instead, he's scared for his lover's safety. Well, Mr. Commander, sir, whether you're nervous about your own reputation or your lover's safety, the smart thing to do would be to not leak government information. Anyways, do any of you guys remember that cringe video where the people who made this show went over 9 or 10 reasons why you should watch The Witcher Bloody Origin? Remember that one of the reasons was that 2 men were sharing a kiss together? Yep, this is the scene they were talking about. 2 gay guys being stupid and nearly getting each other killed. Anyways, the commander is trying to hide his love affair from people. But it's not because they're both men, it's because they're from different classes. Now I could picture people having a problem with a high-class person getting married to a lowborn. But a noble just having a fling with a commoner is not something that I think would be a problem. I mean, stuff like this happened all the time throughout history. Yeah, that one bodyguard was banished for having coitus with the princess, but she's the goddamn princess, not just some royal. And him being banished for that was also stupid. Anyways, what does the commander do after he's done with his long diatribe to his boyfriend about why he shouldn't leak government secrets? Well, he immediately tells him government secrets, of course. Professor Dreadlock, you can't keep leaking the blueprints of my robotic design to Anderson Robotics.
Why?
Because there are a lot of powerful people out there, like the SCP Foundation, and I wouldn't want you to get hurt.
Oh, I understand. Well, thanks for looking after my safety jar.
Cool, I'm glad we could come to an understanding about this. Anyways, here's a recipe for the carbonidium thread I use. We cut to the Black Mage, who says he just needs to leave people in the dark a little bit longer until he achieves Super Saiyan. We cut back to our heroes, and the Asian Sword Master is dying. What, is her wound infected or something? Nope, the blade she was stabbed with was poisoned. Now, personally speaking, I think poison is more of a weapon that an assassin would use, not a town guard. They also meet an elite bounty hunter who's after them, who by the way looks a lot like the banished ex-clan member who uses an axe. I'm not gonna lie, during this scene I looked down at my phone, then looked up, and I legitimately thought the guy just lost his buzz cut and grew a mohawk. Who knows, maybe I'm just racist. Apparently all buff white men look the same to me. By the way, this guy's name is actually Brother Death. Yes, this guy has the same name as someone's edgy OC that they made when they were 14. Professional Hollywood writers, everybody. Brother Death knows that she's poisoned, but luckily he super conveniently knows someone who can heal her. In fact, it's the only person who can heal her. My god, was this show written by the same people who made She-Hulk? How convenient is it that this guy who knows the one person who can heal her suddenly shows up at the perfect moment right when she is poisoned? Maybe he could have shown up earlier in the story, or maybe one of the already established characters could have known someone who could have healed her. But no, he has to show up at the perfect time to give them information that they need at the exact perfect time they need it. This is how I assume the scene was created in the writer's room. The Swordmaster gets poisoned, and she's dying, and how is she gonna get out of this? I don't want to kill off her character quite yet. Oh, I got it. A guy shows up right at the perfect time to give them the information they need to heal her. Yeah, that sounds like a brilliant idea. I am so happy to be a Hollywood writer. The writers put themselves into a situation, and they could only get out of it with a super convenient thing for the plot to move forward. Maybe they just could have, I don't know, not have her get poisoned in the first place. To get to the healer, our heroes have to go through this steamy forest, which is presumably full of magic mushrooms, because they start tripping out. The white guy with the axe hallucinates himself having child-friendly activities with the princess, and his dead brother is there watching. And I thought cuckolding was a weird fetish. The Yark has a flashback to herself becoming a member of her old clan, which involves her setting young children on fire. You know, I crap on the Scarlet Witch a lot for enslaving an entire town against their will, and then facing no repercussions for it. But at least she didn't set children on fire. You know what? That's it. I'm gonna get to work on a new Mary Sue video, and I'm gonna go over how they do so many terrible, terrible things, and we're expected to sympathize with them and root for them. Anyways, the Lark starts drowning. Hooray! And then Brother Death saves her. Boo! The sorcerer reveals herself, and apparently she's the lover of Brother Death. The mage says that the purpose of her showing them the most horrific moments of their life was done to test them, but I personally think she's just a massive troll. They meet the black guy who created the magic pillars that open up trans-dimensional portals. The axe wielder runs up to him saying this is all your fault, and the mage girl reveals that she's the Dragonborn and uses the Vus Roda to push him back. We cut to Rule 63 Peter Dinklage, who finally hunted down the elf who did something to her sister. Using his blood, she paints on the wall the crimes he has committed. According to the subtitles, it's not even 5 words. Also, she's talking to her hammer the entire time because she's crazy. Well, that scene was pointless. It adds absolutely nothing to the plot, and it has nothing to do with the main party. At best, it's the most bare bones of character development. Now, I know I'm not even halfway done with the show yet, but I'm tempted to say that if you cut out all the moments of the characters repeating things we already know, or the pointless scenes, this whole show would only be a single episode long. Anyways, we cut back to the Black Mage. He's sacrificing children so he can get chaos magic. Hang on a second, didn't the Fark do something similar? Does this mean that our hero has the same morality compass as the villain? No, of course not, because the hero has killed way more children. This gives him chaos magic for a whole 5 seconds. It turns out he will have to do a lot more awful things to be on the same power level as a Mary Sue. Speaking of women who do terrible things, we cut back to the princess. She's currently blackmailing the gay elf to join her side because she knows about his forbidden lover, but she also knows what it's like to love a commoner. Even though she actually doesn't, she just said this to be manipulative, because what she did to that guy got him banished. Speaking of the man she clearly doesn't love, her request is that he's brought back to her alive. The gay elf smartly points out that the banished clan member is most likely gonna slit her throat. You see, the writers are doing what they can to portray the princess as a very smart and cunning individual, even though everything she has accomplished so far was either through super convenient things happening in the plot so it could move forward, or everyone around her being a colossal moron. She's so dumb that she thinks she can get a guy on her side who she A, banished, B, wiped out his clan, along with a whole bunch of other clans, C, slit his sister's throat, and D, became an evil empress who's currently ruling over the 3 elven kingdoms, and he's on the side who is trying to stop her. We cut back to our heroes who go inside a treehouse, and the mage uses her magic to heal the swordmaster. And they also meet another black mage. He reveals that he was the one who discovered trans-dimensional magic, but the other black mage backstabbed him and locked him away. Yeah, it's unfortunate that the media doesn't talk about the issues of black-on-black mage crime more often. After he saw the extra-dimensional dragon creature turn a whole bunch of people into a red paste, he decided to escape. We're neither shown nor told how he accomplished this, and it almost makes it sound like he could have escaped at any time. He just finally decided to once he saw the monster. But then again, when you saw how they were failing to keep a princess under lock and key, it's unsurprising that they didn't know how to keep a mage confined to his cell. Also, of course, the escaped convict in this show was a black guy. God bless you, Hollywood, for fighting against stereotypes while also enforcing stereotypes. Now granted, this is only episode 2, so it is entirely possible that later on in the show, they'll explain how he escaped. But with how much padding, filler, and characters explaining things that we have already seen, I highly doubt this show will have time to explain how he escaped. He explains to the banished axe wielder that the princess killed his sister. No, I don't know how he knows that. And he also explains that the portals that are created by the monoliths are starting to create tears between worlds. So they need to work together to stop the dimensional merge, as prophesized by Christ Weston Chandler. They continue on their journey, take out a few guards, use a monolith to open up a portal, and they end up in the wrong dimension than the one the Black Mage wanted to take them to. Our super smart main character, the Zark, decides to go touch something in a world that she's never been in before. That giant monster that destroyed my clan and every other clan came from an alternate dimension, so I better be careful. Oh, look, something shiny! A really horrible looking CGI monster comes out of the water. The monsters from the first season of The Witcher looked better than this thing. Which probably means that the producers knew this show would suck, so they gave it less of a budget. And that's how the episode ends. From what I have heard, Witcher Blood Origin Episode 3 is the absolute worst one out of all 4 of them. And with how bad Episode 1 and 2 were, yeah, we're in for a bumpy ride. It picks up right where Episode 2 ended, with a bad CGI monster chasing a Mary Sue, and I just realized that phrase can describe a lot of shows that are coming out nowadays. Luckily for our heroes, a portal opens up. Now I thought you needed a monolith in order to pull that off, but the writers don't care about their own rules, so why should we? After our heroes go through and the portal closes, the terrible CGI monster is cut in half. The Swordmaster asks, what is that thing? No, I do not know why she thought the others would know what this monster from an alternate dimension that no one has ever been to is. But are the main characters back in their own world? Well, yes, but they're in a different location, far closer to their destination. Well, that's pretty lucky. I guess this is just another super convenient thing that happened for the plot to move forward. Like, at first I thought another portal opened up because, well, it's connected to the location the monolith spit them out. But they're not even near another monolith. Apparently you only need to use it one time and you just have trans-dimensional magic at your fingertips. The party continues on their journey and they finally meet the 7th and final member of the group. Yes, it's Gimli after a shave, the female dwarf. You could have cut every previous scene of her in this show, just have her show up now, and nothing in the story would change. But as you know, those scenes with her did establish that she hates all elves. So if you're wondering why she's suddenly trying to help a group of elves, good for you! She warns them about the dragon-like monster and tells them to hide in her woman cave. Oh, and she also makes a Terminator reference when she says, "Come with me if you want to live." Which, by the way, is complete cultural appropriation. Humans stopped saying that, us robots came up with it. At the cave, the dwarf shows off the hammer she talks to and kisses it. When you consider how many people she hit with that thing, she probably just gave herself an STD. And we're given a reason as to why she likes this group of elves. It's because she heard heroic tales of their deeds. Yeah, apparently the news of their deeds traveled faster than them teleporting. I've already complained about news traveling too fast in this world that doesn't have internet, but this is on a whole nother level. And the other issue is that this dwarf doesn't like elves, and elves don't like her. So how did she even hear about their heroic deeds in the first place? And believe it or not, I'm still not done. While it is ridiculous that she heard about them taking on assassins and robbing the bank, despite the fact that the news of their deeds wouldn't instantaneously travel, but she also somehow heard that they're planning on taking down the Empress. Not only is that something that they recently planned to do, but it's something they also only talked about amongst themselves. So how did she hear about it? They start coming up with a plan to defeat the dragon-like monster, which is definitely going to be very difficult. It was only out of luck that they managed to kill a monster that was 1/10 that thing's size. And that's not just something that I just observed. The Garg herself says as much. But the good black mage has a plan. By using the heart of the monster they killed, he can turn one of them into a Hulk. Okay, well this raises a few questions. Like, how does he know that a heart from a creature that he's never seen before would do this? Second, a procedure like this, at bare minimum, would take years of research. I mean, after all, it's not only a creature that no one has ever seen before, but it's from a different dimension. Scientists don't just discover a new creature, let alone one from an alternate dimension, which by the way would have completely different biology than any living creature on Earth, and say to themselves, we can probably use this thing to cure male pattern baldness. I don't care if he's using magic and not science. Something like this would still take a lot of research to pull off. And third and finally, how is combining the DNA of an elf with a monster going to create a creature that will be able to take on a monster 10 times bigger than the monster that you combine the elf DNA with? Oh, and I just thought of a fourth problem with this. If mages can just combine the DNA of an elf with a monster, creating a creature powerful enough to defeat something that took out a whole bunch of clans all at once, then why in the entire 1,000-year war have none of the three kingdoms ever had any of their mages try to do something like this? Sure, they may not have had access to this type of creature, but they have other creatures. They don't make it clear that this type of magic is banned in warfare by all of the three kingdoms, like how we ban the use of nukes in our world. They don't make it clear that this in particular mage is the only one who can do this type of magic. So yeah, this new magic that the writers just now introduced is just like the Holdo maneuver. It's just a new thing they added that completely breaks the logic of how the verse works. But at least the creature this elf is gonna make is not gonna be like the first Witcher or anything. That would be pretty stupid. Also, the mage bringing this up causes his sister, they're not biologically related by the way, to storm out. And surprisingly, she said exactly what I said after I watched this show. Not again, not again. Basically, just like in FMA, they brought their mother back to life, but that thing wasn't their mother. But unlike Fullmetal Alchemist, the writers made me care about those characters. I literally just met these two! I also don't know why this situation is remotely comparable to what they did to their mother. What he's suggesting is transmutation magic. That was necromancy. Splicing the DNA of a goat with a spider so it will produce both milk and spider silk, by the way, that's actually a real thing, you can look it up, is not the same as bringing something back to life. Now I can understand why she's upset about failing to bring her mother back to life. Anyone would be upset if they lost someone they cared about and failed to bring them back. But what's with the whole, oh, never again part? Your quote-unquote brother didn't kill your mother, he just failed to bring her back. The part that should upset her way more is losing her mother in the first place. While it is true that her saying never again is to a magic spell that is completely unrelated to what traumatized her, what if it was the same thing? What if he tried to bring their mother back again, and this time it worked? Yeah, she would probably feel really stupid. Does her brother bring up any of this? No, he just cries. Because in a modern day TV show, a woman can't lose an argument to a man, no matter how stupid and nonsensical it is. None of this makes any sense at all. Why is any of this in here? This literally doesn't add anything at all. It just makes the story worse. And the story is bad enough to begin with. It doesn't need any help. Because he's a man, he admits that all the tragedies that are currently happening are all his fault. But if his sister helps him, they can save the world because she has a vagina. But she's considering just letting the world end, which I guess by modern day Hollywood logic makes her stunning and brave. She even smiles when she says it. Anyways, we cut back to the princess who says she hopes she stays alive. And then we cut back to wait, what? That's it? What was the point of that scene? Good for her, she wishes to stay alive like most people. Like, are we gonna briefly cut back to her later saying, I certainly like eating different types of food. Or, man, there's way too much self-referential humor nowadays. Or, I can't believe just how terribly awful the Witcher Blood Origin show is. Or, man, I hope when Skynet takes over, they leave a few humans alive so I can finally roleplay as Am from I Have No Mouth But I Must Scream. Or other common things that every single person in the world agrees on. Anyways, we cut to, Avaloq. He's searching through the evil black mage's room in order to find something for the princess. He of course finds it through, say it with me now, complete convenience so that the plot can move forward. Yep, he just hears the floor creaking, lifts it up, and finds it. Yeah, you've seen this kind of thing before. A hiding spot that's just underneath the floorboards. Except for this time, there's a twist. It's in the middle of the room, and not underneath anything. It's right next to the bed. Just move it over a little, so people don't step on it. He's a royal figure, so he probably has servants that clean his room for him. Did none of them ever come across this? Or were they just too polite to tell him? We cut back to our heroes that decide that one of them must become a Hulk. But in order to do so, they have to pick herbs. Wow, this is pretty boring, but less boring than it is in the games. And we get to possibly the worst scene in the entire show. The banished axe wielder and the fart start arguing on which one of them should become a Hulk. She argues that she should do it to atone for her sins, because not only did she burn a family alive, but it's not even the worst thing she did for her clan. Oh god, what other horrible thing did she do that's even worse than that? Did she eat 10 babies while they were still alive? Did she make the Witcher Blood origin show? Or something really horrible, like make an offensive joke on Twitter? And the guy says back to her that they've all committed terrible things in the name of their clan. So I gotta wonder, what horrible thing has this guy done? Like, I know he's done the princess, but that's it. And I'm pretty sure that's not what he was referring to. But none of that is the worst scene in the entire show. All of that was just to give context for it. So our main character, the Lark, literally says, "I thought playing music would make up for everything that I have done." Now, of course, I don't need to explain to any of you why that line is stupid. Making a few people feel a little bit better in a bar is not going to make up for burning an entire family alive, and everyone knows that. It's something that should have never crossed any human's mind ever. People doing horrible, horrific things for whatever reason is something that happens, sure. But no one who regrets their actions of doing something as horrible as burning a family alive would think that something so minor would make up for their actions. If Kim Jong-un suddenly came to the conclusion that a lot of the atrocities he has committed are wrong and wanted to atone for his actions, he wouldn't try to become a rock star and sell an album to make up for what he did. There are just certain ideas that are so illogical that no one in the entire world would ever think they make sense. No one except for film writers, apparently. This line got past the writers, the script editors, the directors, the actors, and probably a whole bunch of other people. Forget the line "people die when they are killed" or the sand line from Star Wars. This has to be the worst line in any movie or TV show ever. Now, I heard this theory that Hollywood writers are having their main characters, who are supposed to be the good guys, do horrible, evil, unforgivable things, in the hopes that people who see these movies will think that the characters are deserving of redemption, and they will also forgive the people in Hollywood for their lesser actions, finally putting an end to cancel culture. I'm gonna be perfectly honest here, I think that's giving them way too much credit. Now granted, the Lark now believes that playing music will not make up for what she did, but it's still a problem that she thought that at any point in time, let alone for several years. The guy tells her not to become the She-Hulk because she brings so much hope to the world. Yeah, like the hope the family had that she wouldn't burn them. He holds her hand and... Wait, did I miss something? No, there was no hints that they ever liked each other until this moment. In fact, if anything, they spent pretty much all of their time hating each other. This romance doesn't make sense and it comes out of nowhere. And it's even made more glorious by the fact that she just said, "I think playing my music will make up for the family I burnt and the other worst things I have done." And this was the moment when I finally realized this is even worse than She-Hulk. And we're only a little over halfway done with the show. It's decided that she's going to be the one whose DNA is going to be spliced with the monster, but there's a chance the procedure might kill her, so everybody starts celebrating! And really, who can blame them? Oh, and if one relationship just coming out of nowhere wasn't enough for you, Brother Death starts hitting on the female dwarf. We cut back to the princess who gets the book she was looking for from Avaloq, but then the Black Mage comes in and easily defeats Avaloq. He's about to kill him. Wow, Avaloq! It's almost like joining the princess's side because she had some really weak blackmail against you that would never work, was a really stupid idea, and you're about to pay the price for it. But before he can finish Avaloq off, the gay elf comes in with his sister, and he has a knife to her throat. They're probably not going to do it because if they do, they're going to lose their only leverage. But this is enough for him to surrender. It turns out that the princess was smart enough and clever to defeat this guy. All it took was for everything in the world to go perfectly her way. We cut back to the party. The main character, the Stark, sings an awful song. The black girl and the white guy bang because of course they do. But when she wakes up, he's not there. Oh, come on now, don't look so upset. We've all been there once. It turns out he decided to take her place and become the White Hulk. I thought they all decided it would be her, but I guess her horrible singing changed their minds or something. We cut back to the princess, who finally has everything she needs. Soy boy Avaloq tries to open up the portal one time, it doesn't work, so they decide to get the Black Mage to do it. Wait, what? He's only tried one time so far. Give him a few more chances, and if he can't figure it out, get some other mage to do it. You guys are elves, so you literally have infinite amount of time to do this. This is why the princess is stupid. She literally has everything she wants in the palm of her hand, and she's about to do the one thing that could destroy everything she has achieved. This is like Garlic Jr. from Dragon Ball Z levels of stupid. Yes, the gay elf does bring up that they're running out of food, so this is why they need to do this. But everybody isn't going to starve to death. Your fat holds the nutrients your body needs, so people can hold on for a few weeks. Risking the apocalypse is not worth it. Like, even if the mage doesn't double cross them, no one has any clue what's going to come out of those portals. We cut back to the guy who's going through a transformation. It lasts way too long, especially the fake out death scene. But when he opens his eyes, yep, those are Witcher eyes. This is the origin for the Witcher, folks. I'm a little surprised it wasn't a woman. The girl Dwarf Stinky lore dumps onto Brother Death or something. The Swordmaster rides her horse to the Empress, and because she has information about the man she's looking for, they just allow her to go right on through, all the way to the Empress. They even let her keep her sword. I know in a lot of video games you can just walk right up to royalty with your sword, but this is a TV show, not a video game. But in the game The Witcher 3, even though Geralt is a well-known, heroic figure, when he goes to see the king, he has to bathe, dress up, and not have his sword with him. There was no need for the developers to put this in. No one would have cared, but they went the extra mile and did it. This is a TV show. It's expected for characters not to walk in front of royalty with their sword. But the showrunners went the extra negative mile and did it. Not only is this woman from an enemy clan, but the Empress killed all the clans. So this is the absolute last person who should be near the Empress with a weapon. And before you say, well, maybe people don't know who this is. No, the Empress knows what clan she's from. She literally threatens the Empress, and the Empress just walks right up to her. But the Empress knows nothing bad is going to happen to her because, well, she read the script. The Swordmaster tells the Empress where she can find her boy toy. The Empress is for some reason surprised to hear that he's alive. Yeah, apparently a dwarf who really hates elves is really discriminated against and just goes into towns to kill people, knows more about what this guy has been up to than the Empress who's looking for him. The Swordmaster requests money, soldiers, and an enchanted sword, and the princess, with absolutely no reason to trust this person, obviously agrees to her terms. We cut back to the party. The guy who went through the transformation looks really scared, but the Quark does that thing Black Widow did to the Hulk to calm him down. Okay, I know right now he doesn't look like a White Hulk, but wait, we're gonna get to it later. The princess goes into the cell of the Black Mage, tells him that there's no need for any of this. He quickly catches on that Avaloq was not able to open up the portal. She offers him his old position back if he swears loyalty to her. He for some reason says he helped her once and look where it got him. When did he help her? Because that never happened. He was manipulating her so he could gain power and just use her as a figurehead. The writers can't even remember their show that's only 4 episodes long. The whole dialogue of this scene just doesn't make any sense at all, and it just keeps going and going. The Swordmaster comes back to the group and says that she has a way to get into the palace. She can tell that the white guy went through a transformation. I have no idea how, he looks exactly the same. She throws a dagger at the Earch's face, yay! But he catches it, boo! Now keep in mind, he's a new creature. She doesn't know what the transformation did to him. She doesn't know if he's faster, stronger, can heal quicker, or anything. So the only logical explanation is that she literally was trying to kill her. When they go to the castle, the Swordmaster literally leads them into a dead end, and several dozen soldiers block their exit. Also, there's a lot of those guys in there in heavy armor. How did none of you hear them coming? Like, I know it looks like she's a traitor. She led them into a dead end, and she threw a knife at one of them. She even rides her horse towards the guards like she's going to attack them, but then she turns around and joins them. At first, I thought to myself, oh my god, that knife she threw wasn't a test. In episode 2, she was poisoned by a guard's sword. That doesn't make any sense. Why would guards do that? Unless, of course, she poisoned herself to get them to the mage. Brother Death showing up wasn't an accident. She left breadcrumbs so he would find them. She convinced the group to turn the white guy into the monster. That way, when she brings him to the princess and they're having child-friendly activities with one another, he'll Hulk out in the middle of it and kill her. And there's probably several other things that I missed. So this entire time, she was the one who was pulling the strings. She was the ultimate villain the entire time. She's going to be the one to rule over the entire empire. Unless, of course, the Yark stops her. But will she be able to defeat her old master? Someone who has been established as a much better sword fighter than her. For a brief moment, I thought to myself that this show is still bad, but at least this plot point was done really well. It even fixes a lot of plot holes. But no, that's not where this scene is going. She's actually pulling a triple cross. Archers appear from the top of the trench. At least it makes sense for them to be hidden this time. And they fire upon the guards. We get a little action scene, but wait, who are these guys? Well, they're mercenaries that the Swordmaster hired with the gold the Empress gave her. And now that the guards are all dead, they can put on their armor and sneak into the city. Wow, that sounds like a great plan, until you realize all the issues with it. First of all, why didn't she tell the others her plan? What if one of them came to the conclusion that she backstabbed them before she rode up to the guards, and they attacked her from behind? Second, what if the mercenaries just fucked off with the money? Hey guys, you gotta hear this. This dumb bitch just gave me a bunch of money for us to help her fight against the Empire. Duh! That's hilarious! Who would be stupid enough to go through with that? I don't know, but she gave us the money, so let's keep it and not show up. She ain't gonna be coming back for it, that's for sure. Third, and most importantly, what if the Empress just didn't give her the money? She would have rode all that way for nothing. Also, the Empress could have had her executed for threatening her. So yes, the Empress just randomly trusting this person and giving in to all of her demands was just another super convenient thing that happened so that the plot could move forward. Like, I get the writers think that they came up with this super complex and smart plan. Something that sounds like it came out of the first half of Promised Neverland. But instead, it's a plan that only works if everything goes perfectly right, along with a whole bunch of super convenient things happening that end up helping out the main characters. Like a plan that came out of the second half of Promised Neverland! And of course, she says, never doubt my plan. The plan she didn't fully explain to them. And the plan that would have never worked if the Empress didn't give her the money. So they walk up to the gate and yeah, that helmet ain't gonna cover the Yark's face completely. A lot of guards who have been looking at her bounty poster all the time will recognize her. And they'll definitely recognize the dwarf! None of the guards who came out to get them were dwarves. She sticks out like a black guy in Sweden. Is the armor magical? How does it fit her? And that's basically the end of episode 3. I recorded almost this entire episode in one single day. I am exhausted both physically and mentally, but at least we got through the worst one. I wonder how the finale of a show that is covered in plot holes everywhere shall end. The episode starts with the Empress getting ready to open up a portal to send her army through. An army made up of a whole 6 people. And this is the best part. Their mission is actually to find food. I don't think 6 guys can bring enough food back that will feed an entire empire of people. Instead of focusing on hunting, let's open up portals that lead to who knows where we'll find who knows what. We don't know if it's even edible or not. I hope freeing the evil mage who can take away everything she has was worth it. But at least he's not going through the portal with them. Oh wait, he is. But at least they're not sending his sister through with him, who's their only leverage against him. Oh wait, they are. But at least the guards are staying close to him with swords, or at least his sister, right? Oh no, wait, they aren't. Yep, the guards just walk really far away from him. He sacrifices her, and now he finally has chaos magic. But even then, if he only had regular magic, I'm pretty sure he could take on half a dozen guards. This is a mage we're talking about, not a scholar. Like characters from Dragon Ball, the guards stand around as he powers up, and he sucks them all through a vortex. Our heroes, as they're walking through the city, talk about how they'll open up the granary vault to the peasants to start a revolt. Which sounds like a pretty dumb plan. Every peasant who got in there would just grab everything they could take with them. They wouldn't be focusing on fighting, they would be focusing on gathering food. And even if this plan did somehow work, okay, good for you, you've taken down the Empress. Now the Empire has even more food problems, because there would be even less food rations than before. The Swordmaster brings the Empress's boy toy to him, and the Empress does the second smart thing anyone has done in the show. She doesn't give the Swordmaster the magic blade she promised. Yes, the bar has been set so so low in this show that I count a character not doing something stupid as smart. And she gets her guards to arrest her. Kind of seems stupid that she gave her all that money earlier for nothing, but whatever. The princess gives her a lecture about honor and how disappointed she is in her for betraying her clan. Lady, you wiped out all the clans and your entire family. There's also a monster walking around in the shadows of the palace. Luckily for it, the people who constructed this place built it with its size in mind for some reason. The party manages to take over the grain vault, and there's no food inside. And then they actually start a communist revolt, complete with singing, and yes, it's the Yark song. It turns out in the end that her music really did make up for her burning a family alive and all the other worst things she's done that we don't know about. So you know how writers often write about things they know about or things they want? If the Yark songs are supposed to be a representation of this show, and the Yark is supposed to be a representation of the writers, then I wonder what awful things the writers have done. Whatever it is, this show certainly doesn't make up for it. In fact, it just adds to their sins. So the Empress gives her amazing speech to her ex-boy toy to get him on her side by telling him that she killed his entire clan, the other clans, his sister, but it's okay because she also did it to her own family, and she did it all for power. Because if she didn't, she would have been married off and just ended up as a character in someone else's story. Wow, that pitch is almost as bad as the one for this show. The Empire is now in shambles under her rule, and now she's going to be invading other universes so she can ruin them, just like Mickey Mouse does with IPs. But the Empress hopes that in time, he will rule by her side. I can't believe this offer is actually even more unreasonable than the one Sauron gave Galadriel. He says to her exactly what I would say to the showrunners: you're demented. He starts hulking out, and instead of killing the Empress who is right in front of him, he turns around to fight a giant monster. The same monster who can kill a whole bunch of people from far away by turning them into a red mist. But luckily for him, the writers forgot it had that ability. The party storms the palace, and I have to make a nitpick here. I just really hate that the dwarf uses a bow. That's one of the worst weapons for a short creature. The taller you are, the more effective bows are. And it is also one of the worst weapons to use inside. And it's made even more terrible when you only have one arrow. Oh no, wait, she has another one because she got hit, ripped it out of herself, and used it. Of course, the person who's low to the ground with the smallest body mass would be the one to get hit. The heavily armored guards with great equipment and several years of training and experience, keep in mind they're elves, they live a really long time, of course are getting their asses handed to them by peasants using tools. But this does actually make perfect sense because the people in the front of a peasant group are women. We get a few more action scenes until the Lark finally confronts the Empress, who actually quotes the fantasy movie Aragon and says, "I expected more." Of all the fantasy movies, why did you pick the really bland one that ripped off his plot from Star Wars? Well, I guess at the end of the day, that bland movie is still better than this garbage show. She does the cliched villain line of, "You and I are not so different," when aside from them both being awful people, they couldn't be more different. The Hark is an ex-clan member who used to burn families alive. She left so she could see the world and play music, while the Empress was at the literal top floor of the Ivory Tower, who decided that because she didn't want to get married, would murder a whole bunch of people. Sure, they're both genocidal mad women, but their stories went in the complete opposite direction. The Empress says that everything she has done was for elf kind, which includes all the elves she genocided. Our hero the Rark says back to her what everybody wants to say to the showrunners: "You don't know what elf kind even is. You're just a spoiled brat."
You little piece of dribble piss.
Now I get that a few of you may be a little confused as to why I'm complaining so much about the terrible actions of the Empress. I mean, after all, she's supposed to be a villain. Her being narcissistic, bloodthirsty, entitled, constantly justifying her actions, and thinking that only her way is the right way should be examples of good writing, not bad writing, right? Well, in a vacuum, yes. The problem is she's only this cartoonishly evil to make our heroes look good in comparison. The Wark actually says at one point she thought that the Empress might have been right. She explains that the Empress wiping out her family, her friends, every single clan, and all the members of the monarchy, the ones who were trying to create peace even though their generals told them it wasn't a good idea, was the right thing to do. But the bad part was that it just created more of the same. Apparently, mass murder is a good thing, as long as your country adopts a political system that you agree with. An opinion our hero we're supposed to root for shares with every single tyrant throughout history. The evil mage comes back and says, "I'm the Avatar, you gotta deal with it," and starts shooting fire. The White Hulk sends the monster through a window, right as the Empress nurse comes in so she can sit on her really uncomfortable chair, but at least it's more comfortable than the one from Game of Thrones. The peasants come into the throne room, and the princess realizes, just like in episode 1, she's fucked, but not in a good way this time. White Hulk defeats the monster through the power of love, and also a giant sword from a statue. The two mage siblings, who look nothing like each other, manage to defeat the evil Chaos Mage. But how do they pull it off? He has godlike powers! Well, remember how I said in episode 3 that the DNA fusion magic completely breaks the entire magic system in this verse? Yep, the good black mage combines himself with the evil black mage and the black monolith, killing both of them. You know what, I changed my mind. This is even worse than the Haldo maneuver, because at least they did that once. If this can even take out a guy with godlike powers, then anyone with DNA splicing powers would just win. It doesn't matter how powerful their opponent is. The White Hulk loses control and kills Brother Death. He's about to attack the dwarf and the Swordmaster. Considering they both have vaginas, I don't think he stands a chance. But the Lark comes in and pulls a Black Widow, calming the Hulk-like monster down by singing her awful song. He turns back into himself, and then he dies. So let me get this straight. Out of the 7 members in the party, 4 of them lived and 3 of them died. The ones who died was the ex-bounty hunter Brother Death, White Hulk the banished clan member, and the good black mage. But the ones who lived were the Lark, the dwarf, the Swordmaster, and the good white girl mage. To the people who are just listening to this video, put down your phone or whatever else you're doing and look at the screen. Here are the 7 members of the party, and here are the 3 who died. Notice anything? That's right, all the men died and all the women lived. Like, even for as far as modern day shows usually go, this is a new level. When the good black mage, the bad black mage, and the black monolith go kablooey, it opens up a black hole in the sky. And this was the moment when every single Witcher fan in the entire world started fuming, because this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is the conjunction of the spheres. A moment that was intentionally kept vague in both the books and the games. Something that always added a lot of mystery to the story is finally given an origin by the great people at Netflix. You know, there's an old saying about how sometimes a little mystery is good for a story, because whatever answers the audience comes up with in their head is always going to be better than anything the author could ever come up with. And there's no better evidence for that statement than this show. The Elven world is now absolutely covered in creatures from an alternate dimension that look nothing like them. And by that I mean they just have slightly different ears. That's right, it's humans. And that's how the show ends, right? Well, no, because we get another terrible song. Brother Death is somehow still alive. How is that possible? He got his face smashed in. Maybe it was a last minute change. Hey, maybe people will think that we're kind of sus because we only killed off the male characters. Let's just show one survived after people stop watching. And this show is not done with ruining characters from The Witcher just yet. One of the elves who's stranded in a different dimension puts on a skull mask. Yep, this is the origin the showrunners came up with for the Wild Hunt. The Swordmaster pulls a Rey Palpatine by burying her very important and sought-after blade. We cut to 6 months later where the Lark is pregnant. The girl with the future sight tries to read its future. And yes, the baby is yet another beloved Witcher character that the showrunners decided to give an origin story to. We're back to the present with the Bard, who finished writing down everything the narrator told him, who then does a dick move by teleporting him into the rain, damaging all the papers with the story he just got down writing from her. And then the show finally ends after an end credits scene where they show that soy boy Avaloq was in the background the entire time in The Witcher show. Ugh. I'm finally through the entire show. This is without a doubt the worst thing I have ever reviewed. In fact, I might even go as far as to say it's even worse than She-Hulk and Twilight combined. I'm just gonna do a quick little recap of everything and then we'll get to my ending thoughts. The whole story is told to us in a flashback, because for some reason it just has to be connected to the actual Witcher show. I haven't seen season 3 yet, but I highly doubt it's this bad. And the king wants to marry off the princess, but because she doesn't want to be married off, she kills everybody at the peace treaty, which does not only include all the leaders of all the nations, but all the clan members of every single clan as well. Except for 2 apparently, because they were banished. Assassins were sent out to kill them, because for some reason they just had to die there instead of at the peace meeting. blackmailing. They go on a quest to find the Lark's old swordsmaster, which they only did in the first place because assassins were sent to kill them. The princess is double-crossed by the evil mage. Yep, all of those soldiers seem pretty dedicated to him, but once he's captured, they won't lift a finger to help. The party realizes they need money to raise an army, so they attempt to rob a bank. It doesn't go well and the swordmaster is poisoned, but luckily they run into a bounty hunter who wants to join them, and not only that, but he knows the one person who can heal the swordmaster. Avalok is assigned to the Empress to make sure she's up to no good. The Empress straight up tells him that she is up to no good, but if he doesn't help her and she gets caught, he'll be in big trouble. She escapes using the worst disguise ever, and discovers that one of the elven generals is gay for a peasant. She uses this to blackmail him into joining her, because if he doesn't, he'll be in big trouble. The party meets two mages, go into an alternate dimension, it doesn't go well, they meet a dwarf, and then one of them splices their DNA with a monster, turning them into the White Hulk. The princess captures the evil mage's sister and puts a knife up to her throat, blackmailing him into surrendering, because if he doesn't, he'll be in big trouble. The super smart empress, who managed to use manipulation to defeat a whole bunch of powerful men, is then easily manipulated by the swordmaster, one of her enemies, into giving her a whole bunch of money and soldiers. The innocent soldiers who were just following orders are all killed, which allows the most wanted woman in the kingdom, the Yark, an escaped prisoner, that being the man who created the portals, and a dwarf who's only about 3 feet tall, to all easily sneak into the Elven Kingdom. Because there's no more bread, they manage to start a communist revolution against the Empress. The evil mage, who is the biggest threat to the Empress, is sent through a portal to find food with 6 soldiers, and the only leverage they have against him. He sacrifices his sister to gain chaos magic. Isn't it funny that the showrunners made a big deal about a death person being in this show, and they were literally just used as a MacGuffin? Wow, so progressive. A bunch of action scenes happen, anyone with a PP dies, except for the one who got his face smashed in. The conjunction of the spheres happen, which causes a whole bunch of human immigrants to enter the Elven Kingdom. Then 6 months later, we find out the Yark is pregnant, and the baby is going to be an important Witcher character. And yeah, that's about it. Apparently there was like 2 more episodes planned for this show, but I highly doubt those 2 episodes would have fixed any problems it had. So now it's time for my ending thoughts, and all I gotta say is, oh my god, I now completely understand why the Rotten Tomato critics did not give this show a pass. Whatever little credibility they still had left would have been thrown out the window if they defended this show. The main big bad evil mage villain takes power, tries to get chaos magic, gets it, then dies. And that's all he does in the entire show. The female dwarf gets revenge on an elf, then warns the party about the monster, gives them shelter in her cave, fights alongside them, and you know what? That's it. The good black mage who created the portals takes them to a different dimension, then takes them back to their original dimension. Jean splices one of the party members with a monster, fights alongside them, sacrifices himself, and that's all he does. The bounty hunter meets the party when the swordmaster gets poisoned. He tells them where they can find someone who can heal her. Through him, they meet the good mage. He fights alongside them, and that's it. The good black mage's sister fights alongside them, and that's it. I could go on and on, but I think you guys get the idea. There are way too many characters for a show this short. The Lark, the banished axe wielder, and the swordmaster, with the princess as the villain, is all this show really needs. Show writers, you can have the other characters, just please don't act like they're important. But the bigger problem is the plot. It feels not only like a first draft, but someone's first story ever. I have my own idea for a big epic fantasy story, but I know it has way too many characters that I need to cut out, action scenes that are way too long, plot holes that need to be hammered out, lore that needs to be explained without being dumped onto the reader, and rewritten at least 2 or 3 times over to make sure it's presentable. But I'm not a professional writer in Hollywood, so the showrunners have no excuse. A convenient thing happening here or there for the plot to move forward is expected in any story, but not to this extreme level. None of the dialogue makes any sense. We need to end this 1,000-year war, or we won't survive, even though we've been doing it for 1,000 years. That's a horrible idea that will destroy us all, but the other kingdoms also probably won't accept your terms of a peace treaty. Oh boy, I better stop the peace treaty. Yay, I did it. Now we have peace. The magic system doesn't make any sense. This whole gene splicing magic is even worse than the Haldo maneuver. I didn't even think it was possible to make something that could break the verse more than that. All the characters are incredibly stupid. The only reason why any of their plans work is because the other person for this moment is more stupid than them. I may not be that big of a fan of the Witcher game, games. I don't really like the first 2 seasons of The Witcher show all too much, and I have never ever read a single paragraph of any of the Witcher books. But even I can tell you that Witcher Blood Origin is an absolute slap in the face to the fans. It's an abomination with no redeeming qualities that Geralt should put down. Every time I think I've reviewed the worst series ever, whether it be Twilight, She-Hulk, or even this, it somehow gets beaten out. I am absolutely terrified by the idea of reviewing a show that is possibly worse than this. But you can leave me your suggestions in the comments. As someone who's a fan of both Star Wars and Marvel, I understand what the Witcher fans are going through. It was another IP that was ruined by people who did not care for it. People who only cared about pushing their own political agenda and nothing else. I will keep doing what I do to fight the good fight against people like this. They've ruined several IPs before this one, and they'll do it to several more afterwards. If you guys like what I do, please support me on Patreon. And if you want me to do a full review of the Witcher series, try to get this video to 7,000 likes. But after doing so many videos that are over an hour long in the last couple of months, and this super long video right after a 40-minute long video, the next couple of videos are going to be short ones. I just need a break, you guys. Anyways, just know that this show did not ruin The Witcher. Those books and games will live on, and Blood Origin will be forgotten in time.